If you see me cry, it's like normal to me. I cry like 3 times a day. Hi guys, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to my channel. My name is Asab. If it's your first time stepping by, welcome. Please subscribe so you can join our little family. I'm trying to really grow on YouTube. It's a priority of mine, so I will be uploading very consistently. So the last few days I've been going through my content, checking my old videos. I'm trying to find a direction for my content and kind of where I want to see things over the next few months, and I came across a video that I filmed about a year ago, exactly about a year ago today, and it's my overcoming divorce video. So that's a video that I think is one of my most popular videos. I'll link it down below. And when I filmed it, y'all, I was so nervous, so scared. I was so different. It's such a different place than I am now, and I feel like it's really nice that I have that to look back on. I'm a very open person. I'm a really private person. I don't like talking too much about my personal life and my feelings to anyone, not let alone like the whole internet. So that was really nerve-wracking for me. I got a lot of feedback from people I know in that video, and even like strangers, just kind of like asking me if I was doing okay, how was I, a lot of sympathy, which I wasn't expecting, because I'm like, girl, did you watch that video? I'm doing great. Like, that's about overcoming. But looking back at that now, you guys, and watching it, I can see why people were checking on me. Like, my voice was shaky, I look really sad, like my eyes looked really sad. So I could see kind of where that was coming from, because I really wanted that to be like an inspirational video and like a motivational video of like, you can do it, you'll be okay, you'll be fine, I went through it. But I feel like my nerves kind of made me look shaky. So anyways, I just want to film it again, and I feel like I'll do this every year, every couple of years, just to give you guys an update on how I'm doing and how's it going for me as far as, you know, being a single woman, being divorced, being a single mom. You know, something different that I have to offer you guys as far as my perspective, and I feel like not enough people talk about it. And yeah, I will be as open as you guys want me to be. I will be as forthcoming as I'm comfortable being. I really want to say before we get started, I received the most like outpouring of love from that video. I did not realize how many other people were dealing with something similar, or who had dealt with something similar. I feel like a lot of us don't talk about it, but there's so many of us that are going through, you know, the same things, and it's so great that we can have this internet to connect with people. And I got so many DMs, you guys. I can't even tell you how many DMs I've received since I posted that, just about girls asking me for advice, asking me, you know, for dua, like telling me about their situations and what they're going through. And I'm so happy that I could be someone that you guys feel connected with in that way. Anyways, let's get into it, because I have a tendency to ramble. A lot of the questions were about dating. I feel like that needs to be its own separate video, because it's a crazy game, but I'll answer a couple in here, and then maybe inshallah next week's girl chat we can talk about me stepping back into my dating and how I'm doing with that and things that I can benefit you guys with. I got a lot of questions about doubt, so we'll start there. So basically the theme about, do you doubt your decision? How do you deal with doubt as far as maybe moving forward with either getting a divorce or not getting a divorce? So I have to say, for me, it was a very slow burn. So it's something that took me a long time. I'm very, very, very indecisive, y'all. It takes me minimum 30-45 minutes to pick lunch, so let alone a major life decision. It took me years. You definitely really need to exhaust every opportunity to stay together. I really feel like that's the only way that you're going to be at peace with your decision. It's not something to take lightly. It's not something to just wake up overnight and be like, yeah, I'm gonna, you know, pack up my bags. You definitely need to take your time, as long as you need. Do not feel rushed by anyone else, because at the end of the day, you need to be comfortable with this decision, and you need to be able to sleep at night knowing you did your best to keep yourself and your family together. Piece of advice I would give you if you're still married is definitely do not introduce divorce into your relationship unless that is really something that's on the table, because I feel like as soon as you bring that up in an argument or any type of way, it changes the dynamic of your relationship, and it's really hard to get back on track. Like, that really just changes the game. So I would definitely suggest, unless you're really, really sure that, you know, I'm at my breaking point, this is definitely a decision that I'm looking into, do not put it on the table, if that makes sense. So yeah, I do not regret my divorce. I feel like I've said this like in every video, but I don't regret it because I know I tried my best, and I know, you know, he tried his best, and it just wasn't meant to be. I don't have any regret. I definitely feel like when you have a child involved or children, you feel guilt. That's natural to feel guilt because you want to give your kids the best life. And from what we know, the best life is a mom and a dad, you know, being together. And it's really hard when you realize, you know, you can't give that to your child. You can't give them the life that you wanted to give them. Doesn't mean they're not gonna have a great life. It's just not the one that you originally planned. And that's really hard, you guys. It's such a difficult thing to come to terms with. And it's still sad to this day that I feel like, you know, there's moments that Alina misses out on because of that. And it breaks my heart. But I just know overall, I don't regret it because I know the alternative would be way worse for her. And another question is similar, is how did you overcome the feeling of failure? That is really my biggest thing when I got divorced. That is definitely something I struggled with that so much, you guys, to the point where I didn't want to tell people I was divorced. I was literally secretly like pretending like my life was, everything was fine, and it's literally crumbling behind me. Like, I look back and I can laugh, you guys, because what was I thinking? I really thought I didn't have to tell people. I just thought I could just move on with life and like eventually I would figure out something. But I was literally living for so long not telling any of my friends. Like, obviously I had to tell my family because hello, but I didn't tell any of my friends. When that was a resource that I could have tapped into, you guys. I could have used them for help, and I had so much drama with my friends because of that. I made everything way worse for myself by being so afraid to be open. I thought like, wow, like I got married really young, I have this family, I've accomplished so much in my age, and then that kind of gets taken away from you and you feel less than you were before. And I felt embarrassed. I feel like a lot of it was me projecting that onto myself, this feeling of failure, feeling of being less than, feeling of unworthiness because I couldn't keep a marriage together. Part of it was external. I felt the pressures from society of like being a single mother and what that means and how, you know, the negative connotations that was. For me, the hardest part was just coming to terms with it because it's not something I ever expected of my life. Like, I never in a million years ever would have thought that I would be a single mom. My mom and my parents are married. They're still married to this day. It was never ever, it was always something that's like other, if that makes sense. Like, that's something that's other. That's not me. That's not what I know. And as soon as it happened to me, it was so hard for me to kind of just accept it. For the longest time, I didn't even like that term, single mom. And you guys might notice, like, I say it a lot. I hashtag it. I'm embracing it, but at that time, I was like, that's something that's embarrassing. Like, if somebody were to even ask me that, I'd be like, what are you, why would you, like, I would take it as an offense. Like someone was saying something bad to me when there's nothing wrong with that. It's like a circumstance of life, but I took it as just like an insult almost. All right, so I had all those feelings, but you guys are probably wondering, how did you overcome it? How did you get to this place that you're at now where you're happy and you're not embarrassed and you're not ashamed and you're on YouTube talking about something that you literally wouldn't even talk to your closest friends about? So I'm not trying to be boastful. I'm not trying to like gas myself up, you guys. I'm just telling you through the process that made me realize who I was and like regain my strength, if that makes sense. So I looked at myself one day and I realized like all the stuff I had going on, all the opportunities that I had created for myself, the fact that I went back to school, the fact that I, you know, did a certificate program, I got a better job, the fact that I was making great money and I was doing it on my own. And I remember thinking when I got my divorce, how am I gonna do this on my own? Like, how am I gonna do this? And I looked at myself one day and I was like, you're doing it. Oh my God, like a few months ago or a year ago, you were crying saying, how am I gonna do this? I don't wanna cry on the internet, you guys, but I'm like an emotional person, but like, if you see me cry, it's like normal to me. I cry like 3 times a day. I told myself I would never cry on the internet. That's like a life goal, so let's move on. Anyways, you know, I was going through my divorce. I was so like stressed out. How am I gonna do it? What am I gonna do? And I just kind of went into like emergency mode, I guess. I don't know. Like, I got a better job. I, you know, got Alina into daycare, school. I had a nice schedule. It was hard, but at the moment I didn't realize how hard it was because I was just like, go, go, go. And then probably like a year later, I was like literally just looking at myself in the mirror, like doing my skincare. And I thought to myself, like, Asab, you're doing it. Like, you were so afraid a year ago. You were so much in fear of like, where am I gonna be? What's my life gonna be? Like, am I ever gonna meet anyone else? Am I gonna be alone forever? Am I gonna be, you know, having to rely on my parents? Am I gonna be able to, you know, take care of Alina by myself? And I looked at myself and it just hit me like, you are doing it. Like, what you were so afraid of a year ago, you just quietly overcame it all. Like, you bossed up and you did it. And it was such a gradual thing that I wasn't even had the time to step back and be proud of myself, because I was just kind of just doing it. You know, you did it. You overcame so much in this last year. And I feel like that was the moment that I let all the shame go, all the embarrassment, because I was proud of myself, of what I was and what I came to. And I feel like I was growing. And every year I feel like I'm growing and I'm being better than I was the last year. And all of that makes me unashamed to say that I am, you know, a single mom and that I am divorced, because I'm proud of myself. I feel like that was so long-winded. Someone said, how do you overcome familiar pressures or guilt to make it work for the kids? There's a lot of family pressure, but I feel like at the end, it's really heartbreaking for everyone. Like, these are two families that, you know, came together and nobody wants to see their kids get divorced. So I was really embarrassed to talk to my parents, even about the issues that we were going through. I'm so private that I never talked about anything. And so with my parents, I was so shocked. I wish I would have just been open in the beginning, because they were so supportive. So, like, my mom is my rock, my dad, they really, like, were so much support to me, and I was afraid to even talk to them. And I tell that to people all the time. A lot of girls will message me saying, like, you know, I want to, you know, I'm really scared. I don't know what my parents are going to say. I don't want my parents to hate me, because obviously in our culture, there's a lot of pressure to stay married, which is a great thing. You don't want to hear your kids getting divorced. You want your kids to stay married or just, you know, work out their family. But I definitely will say, if you're going through a divorce, if you're going through, you know, anything else, like a job loss or, you know, unplanned pregnancy or whatever it is, you guys, really know that your parents love you and it's not as bad as you built up. And even if it is bad, that is a moment that it's bad. Like, that's a short period where you just have to go through it. And I was the type to avoid it. So I'm avoidant, period. Like, if I can avoid something instead of dealing with it, I haven't done my taxes, you guys, and they're due in like 4 days. I avoid. So me avoiding it made it worse. So if you want to think about it as far as, like, I avoided a short-term uncomfortable situation, painful situation, very painful, and I just stretched it out when I could have just went over the hurdle and went back to peace. Because when you reach the period, and you will reach it, of, you know, you've got yourself settled and you're just peaceful, and you come home from work or wherever and you come home to a peace and calm, and you just feel like you'll feel so much happiness, you guys. So just, I would say, face it forward. Tell your parents, tell whoever, and just work through it, because that whole avoidance makes the situation of uncomfortableness and of unhappiness so much longer. And that's the only regret that I would say I have, is that I could have came to my parents earlier and I could have saved myself so many weeks, months of, like, just agony, basically. I'm so dramatic, you guys, but it's hard to explain for somebody that isn't in a divorce how much of a toll it takes on yourself and on your mental health and on your happiness. And so, you know, just dragging that out, it's the worst feeling in the world. I really wish I would have just been more forthright from the beginning. And that's actually one of the only regrets that I have the whole process. A lot of the questions were kind of along those lines of, like, I really want to know, how did you make the decision? I feel like a lot of girls want to know, like, how long did it take for you to make the decision? It was a long time, honestly. I feel like it could have been way shorter. As I said, I was really just avoiding my parents and his parents and, like, that uncomfortableness, and I was just really trying to make it work. I didn't want to have any regrets. So yeah, it took much longer than it should have, but in the end, I feel like everything happens for a reason, and everything's on God's timing, not on our timing. So it was meant to be that long. It's hard for me to say what's normal. It's different for every single person. So, you know, one person might you know, take a couple months. Some person might take a couple years. Definitely, I just feel like you will know. It just comes to a head, you guys. And there's a period where you just know. There's no moving forward. There's no moving back. It's just done. I got a lot of questions about what went wrong. Where did things go wrong? What causes divorce? It's different for everyone. I won't obviously talk about my specific situation because I think it's disrespectful to my ex-husband, because that's also his business that I'm putting out there. So I would never tell you guys details. The biggest thing coming out of my divorce, I feel like, was where did you go wrong? Like, it takes two, I think, to keep a marriage together, and it takes two to break up a marriage. So I definitely don't think I was blameless in the situation. I feel like I look back and I was able to pinpoint situations where I wasn't the best partner, and I feel like I use that now to improve. There's so much that I learned, you know, going through my divorce, and so much that I learned about myself. And I really feel like, alhamdulillah, at least I can say that I came out of this situation as a better person. So I got a lot of questions about Alina and how did you cope with, you know, telling her, how did she take it? She was really young. So she was like 4, I think, 3 or 4 when we got divorced. I'm really bad with dates and times and timelines, but she was about 3 or 4, I believe. So I'll say in the beginning it was easy because she really didn't realize what's going on, and it didn't make sense to her, but she wasn't really questioning it. And I feel like when I tried to explain it to her at that age, she was kind of like, okay, like, what does that mean? I don't know what that means. As she got older though, I feel like that's when it got a little harder for her, because, you know, she can see her friends and she goes to school, she sees different dynamics. She wonders, you know, why is my parents not together like so-and-so's parents? And I feel like that's really hard. I just try to explain to her, you know, as much as I can, you know, the situation that we're in, the fact that, you know, me and her dad are cool, like that's really important to her. So I think it's really, for her, more important that we're in a good relationship than together. And we definitely don't ever talk bad about each other to her, and that's important for her. And I really understand that, because you don't want two people that you love the most to not like each other. And so alhamdulillah, we're in a good relationship, we're in a good place, and I feel like she's comfortable with it now. There's times, I'm not gonna lie to you, where she'll say something and it will like break my heart as far as that goes. I can't think of them off the top of my head, but there's definitely times where she'll say something about our situation and about you know, the fact that her parents aren't together, and it will be so sad and it will make me feel really hard. Like, me going through this video and telling you guys this is not to say that every day is easy and every day is butterflies, and, you know, I'm just saying that most days are better, if that makes sense. So every day isn't an easy day. Every day isn't a perfect day, especially when you are a single mom. But I will say most days are good, more than they are bad. And that's just kind of what I'm pushing towards. So there are times where, you know, I feel the sadness that she feels, you know, in the situation. But do I feel like she's permanently scarred, or do I feel like it's gonna affect her long term? No, I don't. I think she's a really happy girl. She's blessed, you know, has more than enough. And she has parents that love her and that will do anything for her. So I got a lot of questions about how you get over him. Somebody said, I still think about him all the time. I feel like I won't ever feel that way again. That's sad. I don't know. For me, it was kind of like when it was over, it was over. I didn't ever feel the period of, you know, longing for the person, just because it was such a slow burn of, like, by the time that it was done, I had already mourned the relationship in the relationship, if that makes sense. So I never have a period where, you know, it was longing or a lot of missing, or, you know, it was more hard in the sense of just accepting the situation. And I feel like once I accepted it, I'm the type, I move on. So for someone who's going through this and they're still in love with the person and still miss the person, I feel like that's really hard. But you have to think about what led you to the decision and what led you guys apart, and is that more important? Is that more serious? If it's not, can counseling help you guys? There's a lot that you have to go through before you make that decision. But I'm a cold turkey type of person. If it wasn't for Alina, obviously, but I can't go cold turkey. But if you could, I think that works. Like, just kind of cut the person off and move on. But yeah, I don't really have that much advice as far as that goes. I'm sorry. a lot of questions that I'm surprised were kind of like, how do you fully move on? Do you ever fully move on? Can you ever fully move on? I really feel like I'm fully moved on. I really feel like I'm at a place where I have no hurt, no pain, no anger, no bitterness, nothing. Like, I get asked a lot in my personal life, like, how would you feel if the person moved on? How would you feel if Alina had a stepmom? What would that mean? I honestly can say I wouldn't feel any type of way. Like, I would be happy for him. I would be happy for Alina as long as she's respectful and she treats her good. I'm so secure in my relationship and my motherhood that I don't feel threatened by, you know, another woman. I feel like love is abundant, you guys. And that is my mantra. Like, there's abundance of love. There's abundance of wealth. Alina loving someone else as a mother figure, it doesn't take away her love for me. You know? As long as everything's respectful, it's not a problem for me. I got a lot of questions around moving on. When did I know it was time to move on? When was I ready to move on? How is dating? As I said, you guys, I don't want this video to be like 2 hours long, so I'm gonna do a separate video on that. But just in general, I told myself I'm gonna wait a year. I'm gonna wait a year. I'm not gonna talk to any single person. I'm just going to heal and work on myself and rebuild my life. And I really did that. I think I was a little bit over a year, but yeah, it was easy for me. I never felt loneliness. I'm the type that likes to be alone, so it takes a long time for me to get to the point of loneliness. Not to say I never felt lonely. I definitely have periods even now that I feel lonely, but it takes me a long time to get there. So that whole year of me just working on myself flew by. It literally flew by. And then literally, like, I feel like Eli knew when I was ready, because as soon as I became ready, that's as soon as I kind of opened my heart to that, and that's when I started talking to people again, and it came really easily, and it wasn't anything hard. I was so scared at the beginning, you guys, because if you think about it, I had been with my ex-partner for, I don't know, like 8 years, 7 years, something like that. And that's like my whole of my 20s, basically. So I didn't know how to talk to people. Like, I was so afraid of talking to men. I didn't know how to communicate. I don't know, because it's so different if you think about it. The last time that I was single, I was early 20s, and those are early 20 men. And now that I'm single, again, I'm early, you know, early late 20s, early 30s, and these are different men. Just like I've changed, they've changed. So like, how do I communicate? Like, how do I, you know, what is the game? I don't know the game. So I was so scared, but honestly, it wasn't hard. I can honestly tell you, it's just normal. It's natural. Like, as women, we just know how to be flirtatious, to be open. Like, that just came naturally to me, and I was really nervous. I remember the first time my sisters literally like pushed me so hard. But yeah, alhamdulillah, I've had really good experiences, some not so good experiences. We can talk about that, you know, in a whole separate video. If you guys are interested, I'll tell you. But definitely was so nervous, and I had nothing to be nervous about, you guys. I feel like I'm so cautious, and it's a good thing sometimes, but sometimes it's like, girl, just get over yourself and get on. Do you feel as though you're treated differently in the community? You know what? I would say, honestly, the Somali community, that's the only community that I can really talk about. An Islamic community, they're no strangers to divorce. It's like kind of a normal thing. It's not, obviously there's a stigma. I'm not going to pretend there's not a stigma. There is. But for the most part, I was more afraid of the reactions that I would get from, you know, my community, my mom's friends, my friends, and it wasn't as dramatic as I thought it would be. It's kind of normal. People just kind of understand. I got so much support. My mom's, you know, I was kind of like obviously worried about like the habriyats and what they're gonna say about you, and everyone was nice to me, to my face. Like, obviously I don't know what people say behind my back, but to my face, everyone was really nice and supportive, and you know, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be. I'm gonna get honest with you. I feel like it's a normal thing. You know, I had built it up so much in my head that it was something so huge and something so shocking, and it was really just like, okay, are you good? Okay, that's good. Like, that was it. So I got this question. I thought it was amazing. It's basically, what's one thing that you learned about yourself going through your divorce? And I have to say, the one thing I learned about myself is how resilient I am, and how, you know, I can trust in myself. I feel like I didn't realize until I had to rely on myself how much I didn't trust myself. and how much I didn't think I was capable. And I have really bad imposter syndrome, which I'm working through. And I feel like that's part of it. I felt like, you know, anything good that happens to me is just by chance and it's by luck and it's not by my own hard work. I have to say though, everything that I've built for myself and everything that I have, a large part of that is me. You know, obviously Ilahi is the all-time. So, and this is something that's really helped me in every aspect of my life, is the fact that, Asab, if you were to lose everything today, if you were to lose it all, I trust and I believe that I could build it back, because I'm a hustler and I'm a hard worker and I'm a lover and I'm a nurturer and I deserve all good things and I work for all good things. And I feel like that's something that's like just amazing to me, and I can't believe I didn't realize that earlier. And it makes me so comfortable and confident. I feel like I gained so much confidence in myself from that realization of like, it's not by luck. It's not all by chance. Like everything that you have is because you hustled for it and you worked for it and you deserve it. And you give so much love to the world and you get that back. I got a lot of questions from people basically around red flags. How can you avoid your divorce? You know, what are things you could have done differently? I definitely feel like going into any relationship, you really have to look at yourselves' compatibility long term. You have to look at your communication styles. Are they compatible? Your argument styles, are they compatible? You know, I feel like there's a lot we just go through with just, you know, I love this person and we're gonna make it work. Whereas you really need to look at who you are at that moment and who they are at that moment. And do not expect people to change, and do not expect people to be different than what they are. Try to look at them for who they are at the moment and compare that to who you are at the moment, and how compatible is that. I got a lot of questions, surprisingly. I always get questions like this, I don't know why, but I got questions about if I would marry somebody who's non-Somali, if my ex was Somali, like a lot of questions around that. My ex was Somali. In the future, my preference is somebody that's Somali. That's what I like. As far as just us having the same culture, that's important to me. Does that mean that I'm only open to people who are Somali? No. I feel like obviously that would be dumb for me just to close all doors to any other type of man. But my preference is someone who's Somali. And I just feel like we just would understand each other better, and our parents and our families would just be able to mesh that much better. But that's not like a, what do you guys call it? Deal breaker for me. But it's a preference. Hey guys, so as you can see, it's gotten really dark and I have to break my fast soon, so I'm gonna leave the video here. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate every single view, comment, and like that I get, and I will see you guys very shortly in my next video. Lots of love. Assalamu alaikum.